What's up, team? Mikey Bell here with Outdoor Adventure Training. We are deep into ski season now. It's late February, and if your body is feeling it, you are not alone. So we're following up today after our last 10-minute skier stretch routine. We're doubling it. So a 20-minute skier stretch routine, which is more than enough time to get deep into relaxation. We're gonna be focusing a lot on the hips, the quads, the hamstrings, which are all areas that, as you probably know, can get worked, whether you're tearing it up at the resort or getting vert in the backcountry. Before we dive into this really relaxing routine, just a quick update about OAT and what's coming up. While it is still very much ski season and I have a lot of days of skiing ahead of me, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about spring and summer and other big objectives. Hiking, backpacking, mountaineering is a big one. Guide season's coming up. So even though we're still training and recovering from skiing, it's time to start slowly flipping that switch. We just unlocked a bunch of new training programs on our website for mountaineering, hiking, backpacking, trekking, trail running. So if you're outdoor oriented, this is your opportunity to get a head start on your training. We're gonna have a whole video on this next week of how to go about transitioning from winter in the spring. A quick reminder about static stretching. We had a lot of questions and comments on our last video. Static stretching should really be reserved for post-exercise. It's a way to switch the nervous system from that highly active fight or flight, sympathetic response to a more parasympathetic rest and digest. We're trying to recover and relax. Doing this before you go skiing isn't ideal. There's a lot of research behind how static stretching can actually decrease performance because you're stretching those muscle spindles too far. The best way to warm up before any activity is a dynamic warm-up. Look at any professional sporting team or individual that's getting ready before their game or match. They're doing a series of dynamic stretches. So leg swings, ankle rolls. You can do a lot of the stretches that we're doing today, like a low lunge, but you just don't want to hold that stretch for more than 30 seconds. We want to actively move the joints, get the range of motion going so you can perform at your best. Okay, that's enough of me talking. All you're gonna need for this routine is a mat. You might want some blocks, foam rollers, props handy, and you are gonna need either a band, a belt, or a strap for a reclined hamstring stretch. Let's get into it. So I'll open the Outdoor Adventure Training app, click on the 20-minute skier stretch, some similar stretches from our 10-minute stretch, but also some new stuff that should feel very good and relaxing. This should not be hard. The only thing that's gonna be hard is your mind getting in the way and having a hard time relaxing for 20 minutes. We're starting with a low lunge. I'm gonna go with my right leg forward first, so stretching out that back left hip, and my hands are just framing my foot. If you want, and I actually might do this today, just put your hands on blocks. So real quick, I'm not gonna talk a lot today, but just focusing on some of the key principles of static stretching. Always come back to your breath. Breathe as deeply as you can, comfortably. We're not trying to push the stretch as far as we can, rather just the opposite. We're trying to let gravity do the work. This is a yin yoga style class. Really just trying to ease into these positions. That's where our flexibility is made. It's not forcing, it's letting go, and you will get there.
Seconds left. Hang in there.
We'll be switching next to a quad stretch. So I'm just gonna stay in this lunge position, and you may still need a block for this or some sort of prop. I personally am not gonna use one. I'm keeping my left hand grounded on the floor, reaching back with the right hand, grabbing a hold of that foot. You could also use a band or a strap to loop it around the foot and hold that over your shoulder. I'll demo that real quick because I do understand that a lot of people struggle with quad flexibility, so something like this is totally appropriate. Good way to just progress with that stretch. However, if I could ever get this off, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Just holding. Really great way to open up those hips and quads, which obviously take a lot of work when you're skiing, especially on the downhill and sitting in the car to the resort, trailhead, on the chairlift. Each of these stretches are 90 seconds, which is kind of the threshold we're going for. I find that's where I get the most flexibility gains.
Hang in there. You're done in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we're heading into deer pose next. So I'm actually gonna switch directions here so you all can see, and this is gonna set us up nicely for pigeon pose. But essentially my right leg is in this 90-degree angle and my left leg is also at a 90-degree angle. I'm just walking my hands back behind me. So just right here, getting a really deep stretch through the external rotators of the hip because I'm doing very deep internal rotation with this knee. Just staying right up here is totally fine. If you want to go all the way back onto your forearms, that's totally okay. You can use blocks or props. I'm staying up nice and high today. Focusing on the breathing. This leg, my leg flared out a little bit. It doesn't really matter where it is. What's really important is that this leg is at a 90. And if your knee is not touching the ground, that's totally okay too.
Seconds left. Hang in there.
We're going to be transitioning to pigeon pose. So we're already pretty much there. We're just going to shift our weight forward. I am going to grab a block for this
Pigeon
one.
pose.
So I'm just rocking that weight over my right leg, reaching my left leg out behind, and boom, we're in our pigeon pose here. If you need to modify this by staying up high, it's totally okay. Or prop something under that front hip. That right hip in this case is going to help a lot as well. We're getting really deep into the external rotators of the hip here. Glutes, piriformis. A little bit of TFL. We got a whole stretch for the TFL at the end of this one. I'm really looking forward to. Those are the structures that seem to get the tightest, particularly when I'm breaking trail going uphill, which there's been a lot of that this week.
Seconds left. Hang in there. You're done.
We're going to very slowly come out of this. Don't worry if you missed the first few seconds of the other stretch. We're switching back to the left side now for the low lunge. So left leg is forward, right leg is back. I'm going to go ahead and grab these blocks again. Prop my hands up. Not always necessary, but sometimes it's just kind of nice to relax just a little bit more. We have had some questions about our oat merch, our hoodies, our hats, our stickers. We're working on it, team. Hopefully we'll have a page up on our website soon to Get yourself hooked up with some oat merch. Really think about pressing those hips forward subtly. Trying to breathe where you feel that stretch in the right hip here.
10 seconds left.
And
Hang
I'll
in
be
there.
transitioning to that quad stretch. I'm going to move my blocks out of the way. So in this case, my right hand is staying grounded.
Stretch.
Left shoulder, left arm, back up and over. My shoulder's feeling a heck of a lot better. For those of you that have been following around, I wrecked myself, but it's healing quickly. I think I'll be 100% in another week or so and finally get to use those 100-pound dumbbells. Power Block hooked us up with a pair, and we're super psyched to use those. Stay tuned.
You're half done.
Hang in there, team. This one can be tough to hold. Just keep breathing. And we got our deer pose next.
10 seconds left. Hang in there. You're done in 3.
Release slowly.
Deer pose.
Then we're transitioning to deer pose. I'm going to change directions here just so you all can see. Again, making that 90-degree angle with my left leg. Oh yeah. Walking those hands back. Feeling that big time in the external rotators of the right hip. Love this stretch. It's super relaxing. Super effective.
You're half done. Seconds left. Hang in there.
We'll be switching back into pigeon pose here. So again, I'm just going to shift my weight forward over this left
Pigeon
hip.
pose.
Reach that right leg back. This left hip is oftentimes tighter than my right. So do your best to match what you did on the first side, but don't be too attached to it, especially if you've had any past injuries or anything like that. Just focus on your breathing. This is one of the most intense poses. Getting deep into those external rotators. Just stay relaxed.
You're half done. Seconds left. Hang in there. done in 3,
You can set that block off to the side. We are going to need it again, so keep it handy, or a foam roller, whatever you're using. We're switching to a banded hammy stretch. So there were no hamstring stretches in the 10-minute skier stretch routine. And I thought, man, we got to stretch out those hammies. I do have a whole mobility routine for hamstrings, but all I'm doing is looping that strap around the arch of my foot and finding that point of resistance and holding there. If you are more like this, that's quite all right. You will get there in time, or maybe not, and that's just fine too. Everyone's level of flexibility is different, but all the same principles apply, just breathing and relaxing. This one does use a little bit more effort, but I try to hold the band in a way where I'm not really using a lot of grip strength, not really using arm strength. My arms are just kind of hanging on the band. I find the hamstrings get pretty tight from skiing, maybe more so than any other muscle group, because they're always flexed. Sitting on the chairlift, making turns, walking uphill, they're almost never fully extended. So this is our opportunity to do just that.
10 seconds left.
We're going to be switching right away to the other side. So nice and easy, nice and slow. Oftentimes what I do is just bring my other foot and replace it. And extend that other leg. If this is really intense, you can keep this other knee bent. That's going to decrease that stretch a little bit. If not, I would definitely recommend extending that leg. Really maximizes that stretch. Choke up just a tiny bit more on this left side. There we go.
You're half done. Seconds left. Hang in there.
We're going to be done with the band after this stretch. Come out of that slowly.
Reclined TFL.
We got a reclined TFL stretch. It's one of my favorites. I'll demo on the right side first. I'm crossing my right ankle over the top of my left knee, sort of like a reclined pigeon pose. And I'm going to bump my hips over to the right just a tad, and then let everything fall over to the left. And then I like to extend my right arm out to the side. You should be getting a really deep stretch through this outside part of your hip, which is where your tensor fascia lata is. So if you've ever dealt with any sort of IT band issues, this should be your go-to stretch. One of the best ways to get deep into the TFL. Also good for the spine, little rotation. My opposite hand is just grabbing onto my ankle. I'm not pulling or pushing or anything, it's just kind of resting there. Super passive, stay relaxed.
Seconds left. Hang in there.
We are going to very slowly switch sides.
3, 2, 1.
So crossing now, my left ankle over my right knee. I like to just subtly bump my hips over to the left side to help deepen that stretch. As I let that foot come down to the mat, reaching my left arm out to the side. Also a very subtle chest opener, which we all need more of. 90 seconds here, relax, We got one final pose after this.
You're half done.
Keep breathing, stay relaxed.
Seconds left. Hang in there.
We are also going to come out of this slowly, of course, and we're going to switch to our final pose, which is waterfall pose. So quite simply, all we're doing is keeping our legs up over our hips. I find that this is actually kind of hard to hold for a long period of time. You can either put your legs up against the wall, or my favorite way is to prop my hips up so it's right under my sacrum, and I can hold this for a long time. Really amazing way to get all the blood out of the legs and the feet. My feet sometimes get quite swollen, tight ski boots and whatnot. Really good way to flush all of that. Highly encourage you to practice this every day. I love doing this immediately after a big run, leg workout, just to start getting that circulation going. Just stay relaxed and breathe. This should feel really nice.
10 seconds left till the end. You can do this. You're done in 3.
Nice job.
1.
Feel free to hold waterfall pose as long as you want. I could stay here all afternoon, but got moves to make. Thank you so much for joining us for this 20-minute skier stretch. Share this with your buddy who you know is not stretching and it's hurting their performance on the slopes. Stretching is an amazing way to recover after a day of skiing. If you are keen to get some more guided stretching routines similar to this one and a whole lot more, check out our training programs at outdooradventuretraining.com. Find your perfect program. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel. We got a bunch of amazing content coming your way, and we'll see you next time here at Outdoor Adventure Training.